What DLCs do you want to see added to Security Breach? The very same question I asked across FNAF subreddits, Discord servers, and my own YouTube community. And the responses were amazing and super varied. There were lots of strong thoughts about very popular potential DLCs like Choose Your Guardian, and I even saw some amazing original concepts from a few people. So in this video, we'll take a look at the popular and less popular DLC concepts, as well as my and others' opinion of each one. All of the DLCs will be in chapters below, so feel free to skip to any that interest you. A quick disclaimer before I begin, none of these DLCs or their release dates are officially announced by Steelwall, and this video is merely speculation and for entertainment. So let's get started. The most popular suggestion of community DLCs by far is the Choose Your Guardian DLC. Despite being popular, there was a lot of debate when I asked people's opinion of it, which I will explain further shortly. To those that don't know, this DLC would allow you to choose the animatronic that protects you, and each one would give you a unique skill set. Freddy, for example, has the ability to hide you from other animatronics. Roxanne could give you temporary X-ray vision when called. Chica could use her voice box to attract animatronics away from you like in FNAF 3, and Monty would just break stuff. Now that I think about it, him and Gregory would actually make a really good pair. Moving swiftly on, this DLC has massive support from all over the community. A few members do not like the idea, however, as it has some flaws and lore around it would not make as much sense as simply Freddy helping you. In order for this DLC to work, whole new storylines would have to be written and designed to explain each animatronic's hospitality towards Gregory. Also, while the concept has huge potential to show us new areas of the Pizzaplex, a DLC which I will touch on later, in order to make each selection different, massive map and gameplay changes would have to be made, which would result in the game file size becoming far too large when including the new areas, missions, and animations to make them specific for each of the chosen guardians. Another highly requested but somewhat unheard of DLC is the horror DLC, which would add the distinct FNAF 1 horror back into the game, something that seems to be completely lacking in Security Breach, being a children's game. Some community members suggest this horror aspect could be done through adding more FNAF VR inspiration to Security Breach. For example, a DLC mission could be where you have to hide from all or most of the animatronics in the office while not being completely immobile. I think this DLC concept will be popular with OG fans of the series, along with myself, for the nostalgia and unique designs of the game that seems to be slightly disregarded in Security Breach compared to Scott Cawthon's releases. Another possibility was suggested based off the discoveries of Super Horror Bro. He discovered a removed scene in the game files which could be re-added involving a lengthened staff tunnel segment which included a moon animation. This scrapped content could be reintroduced in a future DLC where we could get a more horror-oriented chase scene from Moon through the staff tunnels, which I would personally love to see. Free roam is a fairly basic DLC concept, also receiving lots of attention. And before you comment Security Breach is already free roam, this DLC refers to a more free movement option to Security Breach, in which it's daytime and we can explore the Pizzaplex as if we were a regular guest. This would allow Steelwall to display a lot of the cut content such as Bonnie Bowling and a completed Monty minigolf section. There was lots of support to this idea below, and it was one of my personal favourites out of all of them. When exploring the Pizzaplex, there were only short periods when you were able to enjoy the sheer size of the place, and the performance disc was a bit underwhelming to see. This DLC would allow the player to enjoy the finer details of the Pizzaplex and maybe even see a full performance, which people have been requesting since the game's release 3 months ago. The Prequel DLC is one that is far less in the spotlight, but with support nonetheless. This DLC could potentially add scenes and gameplay from the perspective of a child being hunted by Vanny, potentially even being her first victim. This could be a reference to the message collected talking about a call to the police from inside the Pizzaplex before. This would not contain Glamrock Freddy to help you and would be far more resource management oriented. This could also allow us to meet Glamrock Bonnie and potentially see what happens to him, but that's more of a side note. The player could even play this DLC from the perspective of Vanny, which I think has huge potential to show how Glitchtrap's corruption affects her. The Nightmare DLC is a fairly original concept inspired by FNAF 3's Nightmare mode, where the difficulty is cranked up to the maximum. No upgrades to stats like Fizzy Faz or shoes, and no self-defense weapons will be available. Animatronics will be much smarter and faster, and the slightest mistake will cause a game over, with Vanny being active from the very beginning to add difficulty. To add an extra level of detail, the animatronics could be retextured to take on a more nightmarish appearance, and for even more misery, Freddy's battery charge will be invisible to the player, although I feel like Freddy will not be used very much in this mode. It is generally believed this most likely will not be implemented due to Sony's clear stance of a family-friendly horror game. Yes, you heard that right. A family-friendly horror game. With the variety of endings in Security Breach, the community believed that two very key ones were forgotten: the iconic good and bad endings. This DLC would introduce both. In the good ending, Gregory saves all the animatronics. This could be explained in many ways, but the most obvious would be that Gregory manages to free them from Glitch Trap's control. A Reddit user suggests this could be achieved by completing minigames around the Pizzaplex, each one leading to the freedom of one animatronic. This is an almost identical method to FNAF 3, where each animatronic soul is freed the same way. That is most likely why the concept was scrapped. And yes, scrapped. By reading messages, we see that each animatronic was assigned an arcade machine relating to them. Sun has Balloon Boy's World, Chica has Chica's Feeding Frenzy, and Monty has Monty Gator Golf, which is theorized to be the remains of this scrapped idea in Security Breach. Following on, the worst ending concept is based on something Markiplier said in one of his Security Breach episodes. Freddy seems to be getting angrier and corrupted while receiving parts from each of the animatronics. This DLC provides the option to stay after 6 AM to upgrade Freddy even further, for some reason, taking parts from the daycare attendant, music man, and security bots after destroying them, which ends up driving Freddy against you and puts you in a boss fight against him and Burn Trap. A pretty remote idea, but a fun one nonetheless, and while having support from the community, it doesn't have as much traction as the DLCs mentioned before. Another OG fan favourite was the original crew. The demand for this DLC was fairly high, but there was more passion for other DLCs, hence it is quite far down the list. This could be one of two things: either a simple reskin of Monty, Roxy, Daycare Attendant, and Music Man being replaced by Bonnie, Foxy, Marionette, and Balloon Boy respectively, or an added section to the game where the player gets to know what happened to Foxy and Bonnie, answering the biggest mystery of Security Breach so far, and possibly even being able to save them and then uniting them with Freddy to use them for an alternative ending. The final two least known potential DLCs are Chica of the Seas and Mechanic DLC. Both would be non-canon to the game, so I'll class them both under spin-offs. Chica of the Seas would be a spin-off series of challenges to be completed in Security Breach as possibly an arcade game or otherwise. The initial theory was based around the cardboard cutouts of Chica of the Seas we can see around the map, particularly in Pirates Cove and Rockstar Row. Being a fairly important aspect of the game by helping the player access the daycare attendant's room, these cardboard cutouts could get their own adventure. This would not be a new prospect to steal while having a lot of spin-off characters starring in expansions, like Curse of Dreadbear. However, it does seem a bit random, so I doubt it will be added, but never say never. The Mechanic DLC is a non-canon version of Security Breach that adds a sister location or help wanted approach to it. In this DLC, you would play as a technician or mechanic working at the Pizzaplex that has to travel around after closing times to maintain the animatronics. This would be a really interesting way to tell the community how Bonnie was damaged and destroyed, as the technician would be the first person to know in detail. However, a major issue with this DLC is that the animatronics don't currently have any motivation to attack anyone but Gregory. However, the story can always be changed by giving them some kind of motivation in the lore. And that is all 10 potential DLCs I managed to discover searching through the community. Some of these ideas, particularly the Nightmare and Free Roam DLCs, I really like. Let me know which are your favourites down below. I would love to see what you guys think of, and if you did enjoy this video, do drop a thumbs up so other people can hopefully enjoy it as much as you did. Finally, thank you so much for watching.